Good evening from the mainland of Antarctica. The sun is just setting behind the mountains. Our safety boat has left us and will not be returning until 6 a.m. tomorrow morning.
Let me explain how we got here. If you missed last week's video, we first journeyed to Ushuaia, Argentina, the southernmost city in the world, where we boarded Polar Latitudes' newest expedition ship, the Ocean Albatross. And after exploring the ship, we set sail for Antarctica. But this video is where the real adventure begins. We'll cross the infamous Drake Passage, step foot on our 7th continent for the first time, and break down your biggest questions, from what we packed to the layers you need just to go outside, and what a typical day looks like on an Antarctic expedition. Then we'll take a polar plunge in freezing Antarctic waters, kayak through icebergs, even go camping outside without a tent, and share every part of this once-in-a-lifetime journey to answer the question, can Antarctica live up to the hype, and is this a trip worth adding to your bucket list? So, after far too much waiting, let's finally head to Antarctica.
Good morning from a very choppy Drake Passage. So we set sail last night and made our way through the Beagle Channel, which was pretty calm, and then right about the time that we went to bed, we entered open ocean in the Drake Passage, and it's been pretty rough. Definitely getting the Antarctic experience right from the start, not the Drake Lake, unfortunately. Motion sickness medicine seems to be working, so far we're feeling pretty good. But if you're planning your own trip to Antarctica, you've probably already heard of the Drake Passage, so instead of trying to explain it myself, I talked to someone who knows it a lot better than I do.
My name is Johan Bernekorn, and I'm captain of Ocean Albatross. The Drake Passage is infamous, and especially close to Cape Horn, where it gets a bit shallow. There the waves can build up to very high. The reason why this part of the sea is so treacherous is because all around Antarctica there is no land hindering the passage and the formation of low pressure systems, so they are all circling around Antarctica unhindered until they reach the Drake Passage, which is the most narrow point where the tip of South America and the Antarctic Peninsula are 550 nautical miles apart, and then all these low pressures they squeeze in through this bottleneck. It's part of the experience. Some people want to have a Drake shake, and some of course fear this, but most find it more than worth it once they do it.
Could you say it better myself?
Thank you.
Very much.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So while we continue to bounce our way through the Drake Passage, let's take a second to show you everything we packed for the next 2 weeks. I'll go through everything pretty quick just to keep this pretty short, but I will link to everything I mentioned down in the description if you want to know the exact products I'm referencing. The camera gear that we brought is definitely a bit excessive for your average trip, I would say, but for anyone who's curious, I did bring 2 camera bodies, the one that I'm using, which is the Sony ZV-E1, that's the camera that we've taken on every single trip, and then I also have my studio camera, which is the A7 IV with the f2.870 to 200 G Master 2. I also brought a 16mm prime that I'm shooting with right now, and this 20-70 that I use for a lot of our travel videos as well. And if everything I just said made absolutely no sense, then an iPhone or any modern camera will probably do just fine. One thing I will mention about the phones though is they do recommend you bring a strap, which is definitely a good idea. You can find these on Amazon, they're really cheap. All right, moving on. This is the nice puffer jacket that you get to keep, and then they also give you these really nice Shackleton expedition jackets that you do borrow for the trip, along with the muck boots that you use for expeditions. One item that is crucially important if you want to partake in the excursions is a good pair of waterproof trousers, or pants as we call them in America. Any normal snow pant will do, but the main thing is that they are waterproof, because when you step off the Zodiacs, you're usually stepping into water. Now, as far as your mid-layer clothing or the things that you would just wear around the ship, it's pretty basic, nothing too fancy. You don't need to pack a suit. I just pack sweatshirts like these in a bunch of different colors, but your base layer is, again, very important. So we have 2 sets of thermal underwear each. One is more of a polyester, and then the other is merino wool. These are more photography-specific gloves, and these are more just your average winter gloves. A hat is, of course, a nice touch, and then we each have these nice neck gaiters as well, just to keep our neck cool. Cool?
Warm.
2 items that you might not initially think of, but are very important, are sunglasses and sunscreen. The sun is strong here, and it reflects off of everything. The water, the ice, the snow. So yes, you do need to wear sunscreen, and you do need a good pair of sunglasses. I met a friend at dinner last night who claimed that he doesn't get motion sick, he wasn't gonna take anything, and we just saw him today, and he was looking a little green. So even if you think you don't get motion sick, just bring some medicine just in case. You also get this nice Polar Latitudes water bottle, and there's filler stations all over the ship, so big fan of that. No reason to be dehydrated on a trip like this. And then last but not least is some kind of dry bag, and this is especially important if you're going to be bringing some camera gear. Stuff gets wet, there's salt, there's all kinds of stuff that you just don't want on your electronics. Again, those are just some of our essentials, but the last thing you want to bring is some flexibility. If you've ever been on any other cruise before, this is nothing like that. It's not like there's a set schedule where we're going to go to this port at this time and then leave for the next port. It's all dependent upon the weather and specifically the wind. So be flexible, bring a good attitude, and hopefully you should have an incredible time. Well, nearly 150 hours after leaving home, we are finally about to go board the Zodiacs and step foot on Antarctica for the first time, which is easily a new record for our longest travel day to reach our final destination. But last night at our evening briefing, they actually let us know that they just received permission for our ship to be the first ship in over 6 years to visit the Esperanza base, which is gonna be today's landing. Then at dinner, we saw the sun for the first time in days, the seas calmed down, we spotted land for the first time, and on top of all of that, we literally had whales spouting right out the window next to our ship. So needless to say, spirits are pretty high on the ocean albatross at the moment. But before we head outside, we have just a few layers to put on. So we start with our thermal layer, very tight and revealing, but necessary to keep us warm, and then we each have a pair of tall merino wool socks on as well. From here, we add our mid layer. This one could be optional, but it's basically just the clothes that we've been wearing around the ship. And then from here, we add our waterproof pants. This is probably the most important layer. In fact, I think they require these if you want to go ashore. Then it's the black puffer coat that Polar Latitudes provides you. Very excited that we get to keep these, and then on top of this is the red waterproof jacket that Polar Latitudes lets you borrow. At this point, we're feeling pretty toasty inside of our cabin, but last but not least, we need all the accessories, hats, gloves, scarves, all that kind of stuff. And the last item we haven't mentioned is our muck boots, which Polar Latitudes also lets you borrow. But with that, we are ready to go out and explore Antarctica. Let's go.
There were a lot of incredible landings and activities on this trip, many of which you're about to see. But this first landing at Esperanza will forever be a core memory for us. Not only was this our first time actually stepping foot on the continent of Antarctica, but for Aaron and I, and many others on board, it marked our 7th and final continent, a milestone that fewer than 1% of people on Earth have reached.
You did!
Now it's official. Feet are on the ground.
And as two 20-somethings who just a few years ago had never left North America, this moment definitely brought back a flood of memories. Plus, Esperanza is one of very few year-round Antarctic bases, essentially a small town at the end of the world, complete with a museum, a church, and even a school. It really couldn't have been a more perfect place for our first landing.
We're literally sitting in Antarctica. We have hot chocolate, a bazillion homemade different pastries, and it's just incredible.
As we said earlier, they haven't had visitors in a commercial capacity in over 6 years, so based on the staff's reaction, this is definitely a very unique experience, which is neat. I am cooking inside, though, I must admit. These layers are brutal.
After a few hours on shore, we made our way back to the ship with a pretty incredible sense of accomplishment, but little did we know each day would somehow get better and better from here. One thing that's important to understand about Antarctica is no two trips are the same. You might have a rough outline of your itinerary when you book, but as we talked about earlier, plans often shift on the fly. So after our morning Zodiac cruise in Hope Bay and our first landing in Esperanza, the next day we headed to one of the most unique stops of the entire trip, Deception Island, which is an active volcanic caldera that was flooded by the ocean after a massive eruption, creating this natural harbor that you can now sail into. And while it hasn't erupted since the late 1960s, it's still very much active, as you can tell from the steam coming off the black sand beach, meaning our ship is literally parked inside of the volcano.
All right, we made it here to Whalers Bay, which is still inside of Deception Island. So we're still inside the active volcano, so the cool thing is this volcanic beach, you can actually see steam coming off of it. But this is definitely my favorite landing so far. This is the first time we've also been able to just freely roam within the boundaries, of course. It just looks like we're on another planet or in Interstellar or something. It's incredible.
From there, we sailed back out through the narrow entrance of Deception Island, known as Neptune's Bellows, escorted by a pod of orcas because apparently things weren't exciting enough already. We then made our way to Chiraguanu Bay, which brought us to our first of 3 major activities, sea kayaking.
Good morning from our 3rd full day here in Antarctica. I think every day so far has gotten better and better, and looks like that trend is going to continue today. So we signed up for the Discovery Kayaking program, which is where you get to pick one location and head out and actually kayak in Antarctica, which is pretty nuts. And my one wish was that I wanted to kayak through icebergs, and by the looks of things, that wish might come true today, which is pretty exciting. So we need to go put on this skin-tight neoprene wetsuit so that we can head down to the marina and get into the kayaks. It'd be a fun place to kayak.
I think these clips really speak for themselves here, but the perspective you get sitting this low to the water is unlike anything else, and paddling through dishwasher-sized chunks of ice was definitely more challenging than we expected, but it made the entire experience that much more memorable.
The sound of the ice hitting the kayak is rather unsettling. What a beautiful day, too. I mean, it's actually surprisingly warm. I know it doesn't look warm, and we are dressed in several layers, but no wind, not even wearing gloves. I mean, just incredible.
So if kayaking is available on your expedition, it's absolutely something we'd recommend, but like I said, we still had 2 even crazier activities to come, one of which was announced as soon as we got back on board.
What a lovely trip up until this point.
Oh, stop it.
They just announced that we have the opportunity to do the polar plunge.
This is insane.
This is outside our window right now. That's an iceberg. Yeah.
I'm so scared, but I'm so excited. I feel like you just gotta get pumped up so that your body's loose.
Loose.
I'm loose!
What are we doing?
I usually love this kind of thing, but this one's got my heart pumping. I gotta admit. Aaron's ready.
I'm trying to get the adrenaline up, right?
You did it! When you're ready.
Thank you so much. Okay, now that my brain is functioning again, I'm not just saying this. Once you get out, you're actually very, very warm.
It was literally so much fun.
So they told us that the worst part is getting the cold strap on you, but because we went first, it really wasn't that bad, so very fun, very worth it.
By now, we'd reached the southernmost point of our trip, roughly 64 degrees south, and spent several days exploring the surrounding area, and whether it was unexpected wildlife sightings or glaciers the size of mountains, it felt like every new harbor and cove was somehow more beautiful than the last. And it was in these truly remote places that the expedition capabilities of our purpose-built ship really started to shine. But we had one final activity left to conquer, and this one was going to be the coldest yet by far. Camping without a tent in Antarctica. Now, this wasn't guaranteed, weather conditions had to line up perfectly, but with just a few hours' notice, Erin got a phone call that she was pretty excited about.
Have a great night. We're going camping in Antarctica. The weather permits. It sounds like it's I'm petrified. I'm excited.
Everyone who has ever commented, hey, Erin needs to talk more, like Erin doesn't talk enough, why don't you let Erin talk? Look, it's not me, okay? It's not me.
I'm a bit much. That's why I don't talk.
I didn't say that.
Well, we are about to leave our comfy, cozy cabin to go sleep on the continent of Antarctica. It's actually a beautiful night tonight, though, so I'm actually kind of really excited.
We did just see the glacier right above where we're camping calve, though. So that is where we're camping, where that glacier just calved. I literally got that on video and we're about to leave.
Once we arrived on shore, we got a quick briefing on the toilet situation, and then it was time to set up camp.
Whew. All right, just selected our plot of land for the night. So what we need to do is dig down about a foot to create our nest, and then we'll show you all the many layers that are gonna keep us warm throughout the night, because we actually can't sleep in these, because if you sweat, the sweat freezes, and that's no good. So you actually have to strip down to your base layer, and then you put all the sleeping bags and bivy bags and things on top of that. So first, we dig. It's a queen size. A little short of a foot, but it's a shallow grave.
Should we go a little deeper?
So, inside of our goodie bag here, you're gonna get a bivy bag, and everything goes inside your bivy bag. The most important part, sleeping bag, which is supposed to be comfortable down to -4 Fahrenheit, I believe. Depends on how you define comfortable, I guess. How's it going there? Just like that, we have our nest for the night.
Good evening from the mainland of Antarctica. We're ready to go.
This is perfect job. Let's flat, great.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, I love it. You're perfect. I don't need to say
Thank you. I
Thank
appreciate it. They seem to be impressed with our shelter.
Got an A+ practically.
I must say, though, we've had a lot of good views from different toilets around the world. There was the bird box in Norway. There was the overwater bungalow in the Maldives. I think this particular toilet wins the award for best view from the bathroom. Congratulations. It's time. Add it to the list of things I never thought I'd put on the internet. Still very bright out, but good night. It was definitely colder than we expected. I mean, somehow I went from this to this in the span of 6 hours, but it was so worth it because the sunrise and wildlife we woke up to can only be described as a dream.
Let's go. Oh my.
Well, the ship has officially headed north, which means we are on our way home. We still have one more landing scheduled for tomorrow, but this has just been such an incredible... Oh my gosh, there's orcas. Did you see that? As I was saying, this has been just such a magical trip. Of course, a whale pops up in the background as I'm talking about how incredible the trip has been. We had such high expectations for this trip, and somehow they were so far exceeded. You gotta come to Antarctica. Ever since we got home a few weeks ago, so many friends and family have asked us the same question. How was Antarctica? And honestly, we still don't have the right words. Yes, it's far away, hard to get to, and yeah, it's expensive. But if you ever get the chance to go, take it. Because all we can say is 7 continents later, and we have never seen anything like it. Not even close.